Hey everyone, Dr. Frunky here with a super special knife consult on the Michael Raymond Starlit. Before you watch this video, I really recommend that you go back on my channel and you watch the video for the Scott Cook lock saw. This is the original integral handled folding knife where the handle has one piece of solid metal as its handle. If you follow my channel at all, you've definitely seen the Nirvana and the small Satori on here before. These are Peter Rossetti knives that both feature the integral handle. I've had plenty of these knives on my channel, and all of them owe their origin to the lock saw. So go and watch that before you get into this, because Michael Raymond has a very close relationship to Scott Cook, as in Mike Raymond has developed most of his techniques from where Scott Cook was. Now, Mike Raymond is a maker unto himself and does his own thing, and we're going to talk about this knife, the Starlit, in detail, and we're going to learn a lot about it. So let's go ahead and bring these knives off the screen and take a look at the Michael Raymond Starlit. So who is Michael Raymond? He is a custom knife maker that has been doing this for a few years. He started out in the aerospace industry, machining parts to very, very fine tolerances, per his biography on his website. He decided that he wanted to get into knives, and he wanted to start with a folding knife, and then he didn't even start. His first knife was essentially an integral handled knife. He went not to a fixed blade, not to just a folding knife, but straight to this. And he sought it with such a passion and he has really made a name for himself. If you follow high-end custom knives, perhaps you've heard of Mike Raymond. His knives are all the rage right now, and that is because he makes things on a level of precision unlike anybody else in the industry right now, and you're going to see why his knives are so coveted. I wanted to go ahead and say thank you deeply to my friend Anchor. He goes by Shy Timber on Instagram, for letting me check this knife out, for letting me hang out with the lock saw and the Starlit, two of the very finest integral handled knives on the planet. Study them, learn about them, and then make some good videos for you guys. So what are we looking at right here with the Starlit? The Starlit is the smaller of two knives that Michael Raymond produces, the larger one being called the Galaxis or the Galaxis. This one is coming in with about a 3.5-inch blade right here, so very perfectly sized. A little bit smaller than the lock saw that was about a 3.6. We'll bring that out for a size comparison. We got about a 7.6-inch overall length. You've got 4.25 inches of handle, so a very, very tight blade to handle ratio right there. Very, very impressive. With this integral construction, he has been able to keep the thickness of the handle to 0.4 inches, so very thin in the pocket. And the blade stock is coming in at a very slicey 130 thousandths. Now take a look here. I want you to see the precision. I'm going to put my calipers on here, and I want you to see exactly how cleanly. So look at that, 130 thousandths on the nose. If I were to put this right here, 401 thousandths. I'm sure that inaccuracy is my calipers and not the knife itself. Just an extreme precision and attention to detail on this, and that is really only the beginning of what we're going to be getting into here. So understand why these knives are so special and why they fetch the prices that they do. With the integral handled construction right here, it's coming in at 3.55 ounces, so right at that 1-to-1 ratio of blade inches to handle to overall weight. That is not a bad thing right there. It is that ideal combo. Again, precision and weight savings, and everything is considered on this knife. So let's bring out another couple of knives for a size comparison. As I mentioned before, he makes a larger model called the Galaxis or the Galaxis. Let's bring out a Para 3 right here, and here is a Spyderco Paramilitary 2. Just so you can see that this is a perfect EDC size. It is the perfect size in my opinion. I really want one of these knives. It's absolutely incredible. Let me bring out another couple of knives that are sort of in this same category right here. Here is that Scott Cook lock saw. So if you're considering a Michael Raymond Starlit, You are probably familiar with the lock saw. You can see the size difference right there. Here is a Nirvana 2.0. Their Nirvana 2.0 had a 3.75 inch blade. He's got a new one that's got a 3.5 inch blade. It's going to be more similar in size here to the small Satori. So you can see that the Peter Rizzenti small Satori is a very good estimation of the overall size profile. So perhaps if you are familiar with that, you may be familiar with this. So we'll get these guys off the screen here. All right, perfect. So let's go ahead and break this knife down anatomically. Up front is a blade of M390 steel that Michael heat treats, cryo treats, oil quenches, and Rockwell tests himself. I believe this is tested out at about 62 Rockwell. Very impressive that he is able to produce that by himself. He is an absolute perfectionist, and he wants every component of his knife to be that perfect. And so it shows in the way that he produces the steel here, and then how he produces this beautiful drop point shape. This knife reminds me in a lot of ways of the Chris Reeve Sebenza, in a lot of ways of the Scott Cook lock saw. All of these things are good. Scott Cook started out his career with Chris Reeve knives, and so the drop point Sebenza style blade is a no-brainer because that is basically a perfect user blade shape. And so this is another modification of the everyday perfect drop point blade shape. This one features no real top swedge right here, although there is a beautiful crowning that has been done. No surface of this knife has been overlooked. There is a beautiful crowning going on down the spine of the blade. There are hand-rubbed satin flats, a hand-rubbed satin primary hollow ground bevel. The secondary bevel is very sharp. One thing that has changed over the course of his knife making are the plunge grinds and the sharpening area right here. This knife is a couple of years old right now, and some of his newer models, as he's been making knives, they continue to evolve. Fantastic blade shape right here, very user-friendly if you are going to use your multi-$1,000 knife to do stuff. And some people do that. Speaking of the price, these knives do run somewhere around $3,000 to $4,000 new. And those are now the table prices. They used to be less. Sometimes you can have some of the older models for the mid-2000s. But as of right now, that is about what they're trading. And so it's going to hurt your wallet if you're trying to pick one of these up. But I'm trying to explain the precision and attention to detail that's going on here that justifies that cost. Now let's take a look at the thumb stud on this model. This is done in copper, as with some of the other accents, including the pivot collar right there, as well as the pocket clip. Fantastic accents right there. This is a modification of the Scott Cook thumb stud. Notice that it is ramped. Let's see if I can get it to focus like that. It is ramped a little bit differently. It is not only a 90-degree angle like the Scott Cook is right here, but it also has the hollow or the ramp to it right there. So just another touch of perfection that he's got going on. It's press fit here into the blade. Beautiful construction right there. Very clean lines everywhere. His logo is very subtle. Little MR right there. Very nice. No blade steel designation, but he always uses M390 or other high-end steels. Moving back to the pivot right here, this has a beautiful inlay. I don't honestly know what it is. I don't have a card in the box that says exactly what that is, so perhaps someone could enlighten me as to what that is. It's sort of a beautiful black onyx type thing, very dark colored, just a true glossy black in the middle there. It's a nice pivot inlay. Around it, you're going to see a copper pivot collar with his jigged style pattern on it. This pivot runs on phosphor bronze washers, as does the Scott Cook knives. This is not a knife that you're going to want to be flicking around like that. You saw me just try to flick the knife open, much like a Sebenza 21 that is a little bit tight. This knife is not going to flick open as easily as some of the other ones, but it's not meant to be a flicky open knife. This is meant to be, like the Sebenza, a meaningful, slow, and progressive opening with a very smooth and true action. And it certainly does have that. As you can hear when the knife opens, it's a very authoritative click that resonates inside of this integral handle right there. So the action is very smooth, but you're not going to get a very quick knife. Some of the newer ones may be smoother, and if I owned this knife and I carried it every day and I had worn in these phosphor bronze washers, I do think that it would be smoother. I do think I can open it like that. I'm not going to push it because it's not my knife. But I think ultimately it would smooth out to be in that point. Owners of the Starlit, let me know if your knife is that smooth. Moving back to the handle here, let's take a look at this. This is where the precision really comes down. The precision really is shown. Now that I can get into the handle, let's take a look first at this dimension right here. Let's take a look at the tolerances that are going on this handle right here. First of all, absolutely dead centered. Dead centered. And then as we come up the blade here, notice the very, very tight threshold between the blade and the handles. Very, very narrow tolerancing going on right there, and it all fits very nicely. Lock bar cutout is very smooth. Here's something that's special right here. There is proprietary hardware. Now, before you go all Hufflepuff on me right now and you go complaining that he uses proprietary hardware, there's only one screw on this knife. The beauty of integral construction is that there's only one screw that you need to take the knife apart. Now, there are some screws right here that look to be T6s going on right there to take the pocket clip off. But this proprietary hardware is matched by this proprietary driver. Something that makes his knives extremely special. And another thing that shows his absolute attention to precision and detail, as well as his art and his passion and his precision, is that he develops a proprietary screw and then he makes a proprietary screwdriver. So each knife comes with its own driver. And as you can see, it shows the pattern on that side. It's got a unique driver right here, and it will fit perfectly inside of, notice that the pattern is there inside of this pivot. I'm just going to do it very, very gently, just kind of let it fall in, but there it goes. It just sinks right in, and it's an absolute perfect fit, and it's incredible that he makes this, and really, really cool. Every single one of his knives, though, they all have, many of them have wildly different pivot types. You should go and see all the different types. Each one of them comes with its own customized tool that matches the knife in some way. Notice that this one has the same matching orange peel finish that you see on the handle right here. Each time he does that, I'm just going to leave it on the screen because it's really cool looking. Let's take a look at the handles right here. Now, Scott Cook machines his handles on a Bridgeport mill. I'm pretty sure that Mike Raymond uses a CNC. If I am wrong, please correct me down below. It is very likely and possible that Mike Raymond also does this by hand. I really don't want to get that wrong. I didn't have an opportunity to ask Mr. Raymond about this knife before filming this video. So please, let's figure that out down in the comments below. I don't want to speak incorrectly. But what I do want to show you is this jigged pattern. This is why I think he uses a CNC, because of the absolute repetitive nature, but also perfect nature of this jigged pattern. You can see the uniformity going on, but also the rather random, sort of randomness to it. But if you hold it a little bit farther away, you can see that there are repetitive lines going on here. But this is a jigged pattern, that's what he calls it, reminiscent of some bone patterns. And he's got it on both sides of the handle here. Very, very precisely milled, intricate pattern. You can really get lost. It seems rather simple when you're looking at it, but when you really look at it up close, very intricate. The amount of time that it must have taken to mill this pattern, and the number of end mills that he used to make these fine lines, I can only imagine the frustration that he had in developing this. So very, very cool. That is carried over onto the copper pocket clip. This is likely a sort of robust type of copper that will function well as a clip. Very, very nice patterning going on there. And you can see the orange peel finish again right here, carried all the way around the handle. And so this knife is just incredible. It's taken me a few months, honestly, with it to fully understand what's going on, because I needed to also understand the lock saw before I understood this knife. Michael Raymond has really developed his own type of integral handled knife, and what he is doing is far and away beyond what any other person in the knife industry is doing. He is making aeronautical grade knives, precise beyond anybody else I have seen, down to the tens of thousands of precision. You saw that the blade is exactly 130 thousandths. The width is exactly 400 thousandths. The precision that he uses and the attention to detail and his pursuit of constantly getting better with each knife that he makes is something that makes him truly special in the knife community. His knives command insane prices. I went to Blade Show. The two knives he had on his table, he had a Starlit and a Galaxis. It was $3,600 and $3,900 respectively, table price. And secondary market, the moon is the limit here. And so they're really going to be more and more difficult to come by. But please understand that he is making knives on a completely different level. Go and follow him at Michael Raymond Knives on Instagram. Check out his website, michaelraymondknives.com. I'll leave some links below so you guys can check that out. But I'm really happy that I was able to bring you an overview of the Michael Raymond Starlit to help you to understand a little bit about what makes it so special, why it commands these types of prices. You are never going to find a better fit and finished knife out there. It's not going to happen. Even the inside of the frame I'm looking is finished beautifully. It's polished up inside of there. It's got the orange peel finish. Very, very nicely done. Obviously, internal milling on an integral handle is silly. That would never happen. But please understand that Mike Raymond is making some of the very finest knives in the industry. His work deserves to be emulated, it deserves to be respected, and you should definitely go and check it out. So thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and click like and subscribe to my YouTube channel here. Head over to Instagram, follow me there as Dr. Frunky, and as always, guys, take care.